Andrew Whitworth, Prime Video Thursday night football analyst, the former Rams offensive lineman, and won a Super Bowl. When's the last time Sean McVay reached out to you to come back and play football?
To come back and play football, none. I think he knows I'm done. So we've had plenty of those conversations, but we've talked a lot of ball this season, and just being there for him and what's been a really tough year for them.
Okay, what advice do you give with an offensive line that's had 14 different looks to it?
Yeah, 14 different starters. It's been NFL history as far as the injury numbers. It's unbelievable. I think it's more, obviously, I played in Cincinnati, as you well know, Dan. I went through some ugly seasons before. So, just being there for them and saying, hey, man, just a good conversation of where you're at in the year, what can be the mentality and really what you're talking to the team about. Because when you start to get like this, guys just start to lose confidence and just, a presence about them in the locker room to where you feel down every day and you feel like, man, can this keep happening to us? And so I think just having those conversations of how do you keep guys fired up to go out and compete every week and keeping that mentality of going out and being a competitor in what's been, man, just an unbelievable year from an injury rate standpoint.
Okay, but help me understand that when you were with some bad Bengals teams and you get to week 15, week 16, I know you get paid, but how do you kind of get that energy to, hey, here's another game and let's go out and play great football, or at least try?
I think it's really when you start to find out, who it is that stays. I mean, I look at those moments throughout my time in Cincinnati and even in LA after we'd had a couple good years and then had a down year or two. You find out who the guys are that you're like, you know what, this is the guy that we want here and why we want him here, and we want him here for the long haul, because you'll see that the guys who just can't handle not having success and the guys that maybe are playing the game for different reasons other than just going out and competing, they struggle in those moments. But the guys who love football, they love the opportunity to compete and go be physical and try and win and do their job. They're the ones that stick out in these moments. You'll find leaders. You'll find guys that'll be somebody you lean on for the next 4 to 5 years. Everything in between, teamers, special teamers, different things like that really become the nucleus of your team in moments like this. Because I know for myself, in 2008, we were 0-8 and played the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I had a moment with my team where we had to make a stand against them, and I got in a fight actually with John Henderson and got kicked out of the game, him and I both. But that week, I'd given a speech to them that I'd never lost in my career at anywhere I'd ever been, and in my time in college and high school, and I just wasn't going to accept being that way in the pros. And we go out in that moment, we have a great game against them. Him and I get in this big moment. He was the guy at that time in the league, and from that moment on, I was the captain of the Cincinnati Bengals. And so you can find who your guys are you're going to lean on in these moments if you're looking the right way.
Give me the team that you have the most confidence in and the least confidence in as far as playoff teams.
I think probably for me, the most confidence is the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, people talk about the weapons they have and how Jalen Hurts has played, which has been exceptional. But what I really look at is when you combine those things with a Lane Johnson, a Jason Kelce, a Brandon Graham, a Fletcher Cox, these guys that have been in the moment, who've been there, they've won it, they've experienced what December football is about, winning in the playoffs is about, and they're also just great leaders, great dudes that want to go out and do exactly what we just talked about. They want to go fight and win no matter what the situation is. You add that to what you have at the skill positions and how the quarterback's playing and how that secondary is played for them, and you got a really special football team that not only could out-talent people possibly, but they got the right mentality and demeanor as a football team to go out and compete in the biggest moments. And I think for me, really, if I look at a team that I don't trust as much, it's up there. Obviously, we've seen Tennessee fall off. I think the Dolphins are tough because it's like, man, they're so explosive offensively, but defensively, they don't seem to, every week you can't seem to see consistency in their ability to stop people when they need to. And I think in playoff football, we've seen it time and time again. You got to have a defensive stand. You got to have the ability to stop people and keep people from scoring to win these games, because no matter how the offensive goes, at some point in the game, you're going to have to make those stands. And I don't know if I trust their defense in those moments.
Steve Young talked about this, and we just had Marcellus Wiley on, that when your career is over, part of you dies because that's been you. That's been your identity for when you're growing up, when you're in high school, when you're in college, when you're in the pros, and then you get to be like 32 or 33 and you suffer a death. Did you go through that part of me just died, now I move on, and now I'm this different person?
Yeah, I think you really do. I think for me, what's a little different is that I was a part of Cincinnati for so long. I mean, 11 years, that I almost went through that experience when I moved to LA because I was unsure what that move was going to be like. I was a 35-year-old lineman. Like, how long am I actually going to play? So I kind of went through a lot of those emotions of everything I'd ever known as an NFL player had just changed, and I'm moving my entire family across the country. And so there was a lot of kind of that feeling of a loss or death in my mind when I made that transition. And then I got reinvigorated around being around Sean McVay and a franchise that was locked into finding a way to win. And that was so exciting that really this year when I retired, I was really at the end. It's like, hey, I've played as long as I can possibly play. This has really been a blast, and I couldn't be more appreciative of my time as an LA Ram. But I'm done. I'm finished. And so there was a little bit of a time where you realize, man, it's a big wheel and it keeps turning whether you're in it or not. I remember having those conversations with Larry Fitzgerald this summer where he just talked, we kind of both shared about different struggles we had retiring. And when you realize, man, you were this guy. And now even relationships that you had that you talk to people every day in your building, you don't talk to hardly any anymore just because they're in the middle of everything that's going on in an NFL year and you're not. So it's just hard to have communication and feel appreciated and feel a part of things. And you have to really come to grips that, like, you know what, this is this big NFL machine. And when you're not in it, man, it just keeps rolling. And I think it's just that humbling feeling. And once you get used to it and realize, hey, I got to find my identity in new ways, you start to embrace it in a better way.
Great to talk to you. How's the transition been? You have any moments where you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, Dan. The first time that camera turned on and they're like, "You're live, go." I'm like, my heart's racing 1,000 miles an hour, and I'm like, "Man, am I a rookie facing, Terrell Suggs again? What's going on right now?" If so, you know what? It's finding a new way to be challenging yourself. It's been a lot of fun. I think for me, Dan, just like studying the game as a left tackle, it was so much about the defense, and my guy had to block every play. And now to have the opportunity to study the entirety of everything.
More nervous going on TV the first time or playing in your first NFL game?
I want to say probably for me it would be playing for sure because Carson Palmer was back there and they just gave him a whole lot of money. So if he got hit, I was going to be in a lot of trouble. Going on TV, I don't have any problem talking, so I'm all right with that.
Merry Christmas to you. Great to see you again, and my best to the Thursday night crew. Thank you.
Hey, appreciate it, brother.
That's Andrew Whitworth. He's there with Carissa Thompson, Tony Gonzalez, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Richard Sherman. On-site Jags Jets tomorrow night.